We are going to get this thing kicked off here any second now. All right. Mark Bowen's in the house. Good morning, Mark Bowen. We got a bunch of people. John Lopez, live from Atlanta. Yes, John, I owe you a call back. My apologies. I will call you this afternoon.
Mark, did you see Rodrigo's on here? Hello, Rodrigo.
I did. You have to speak in Portuguese, though, Jeff, for Rodrigo to understand. Oh, no, he said he understands English, too. Okay, you're good.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah.
Great to have you listening in, Rodrigo. Today's his, oh, wait, that was yesterday. I think it was his son's first birthday. Big milestone.
Happy birthday. Very cool. Good job on making a human. That's always a big thing, too.
Yes. Josh Lane's on board. Glad to see our fearless leader has joined us today.
El Conquistador. That's Portuguese for the president, I think.
Craig Chows. Greetings from sunny South Africa. Don't rub it in. It's cold here, Craig. We understand that you're below the equator and that whole north and southern hemisphere thing. All right. What do y'all think? Should we get this thing started?
Let's get started.
I think we should. So good morning, afternoon, evening from all over the globe, I guess. Thank you guys for taking the time to join us on our webinar. We're going to spend some time talking about the replacement strategy for Google Cloud Print. Today, we're very honored to have a few guests with us. Jeff McWilliams and Matt Schotten are on board. You guys want to do a quick introduction?
Well, first of all, Mark, Jeff, ACDI team, thanks so much for inviting me. My name's Matt from PaperCut, new guy to PaperCut. I just had my 3-month anniversary yesterday, but came from the reseller channel, have a lot of experience with PaperCut, and excited to be part of this today.
Awesome.
My name's Jeff. I'm Matt Schotten's cousin from Indiana. I asked him what he does for a living, and he says, why don't you just show up to a webinar? I'll show you. So I'm stoked to just see what Matt does for us. But no, I'm the director of sales for ACDI also.
That's right. So marketing had fun with this and said, I'm the loud guy. And that's okay. Jeff's the funny guy, and we got Matt on here as a smart guy. I think it's a pretty good balance for us today. All right, so how did we get where we are? If you haven't heard by now, Google Cloud Print, that has been in beta for quite a few years from now, is ending December 31st, 2020, right? So there's a lot of people that are out there that are scrambling to say, hey, what am I going to do to print from my Chromebooks, from my Google Suite, Google Workplace applications come 2021, right? And so to kind of, play off of the whole how we got here today, right? Little Christmas past, Christmas future. Let's take a little stroll down memory lane, right? 2010 is when Google Cloud Print was originally released in beta form, right? They were so proud of that product that they let it run in beta for over 10 years, okay? And it was something that, it was a big step for Google, who was a search engine, right, where they were coming out from to introduce a new product into the printing space. But they had a premonition. About 6 months later, the very first Chromebook hit the market. It was introduced by Acer Computers, if you guys remember them, June 25th of 2011. It's really started to change the PC computing landscape. So we had a new introduction of an operating system running on a mobile computer that wasn't a Microsoft or Apple-based kind of device that we were all used to, right? But now we take a look at what happened 8 years later. They said, you know what, we're done with it. We tried our hand with this. We left it in beta long enough that November of last year, almost a year to the day, Google decided we're done, right? No more playing again, that we're kind of done with this program, and we're going to give you guys a year to go off and find a replacement. Sure, there's lots of people that jumped on it right away, but there's others that procrastinate like Jeff does a lot, right? And they're pushing it off to the last second to figure out what they're going to do. And we've got some stats for you that'll kind of prove that message as well. But, I'm sure there's a lot of people asking, is this really a bad thing? So let's take a step back. Was Y2K a bad thing, right? The world was going to crash. We were going to have a lot of terrorist attacks. Our utilities were going to go down. Best Buy's telling everybody, turn your computers off. You just don't know what's going to happen. When we woke up on January 1st, or Jeff was still up partying, the computer was still working. He was able to print out his wish list, his to-do list for 2000. But what's going to happen we know now on January 1st, 2021, kind of that soup Nazi guy coming in here and saying, Google, no printing for you, right? We know that when they hit file print as of January 1st, nothing will happen if they are using Google Cloud Print. So with that, we need to be able to help our customers figure out what they're going to do. How are they going to hit file print and see that document come out? Because we all know how unhappy we get if we hit Control P and nothing happens. We'll hit it again and again. We'll start cussing. We'll point to a different printer. We'll print it a bunch of times because people like results when they hit file print. But speaking of results, Jeffrey, what do you say we cut to the chase a little bit here and have you take us through some stats and tell us why we need to consider GCP replacement? What do you think?
That's the last time you asked me a question like, how many knives do I have on my desk? Can I show you? And for the record, I was in Tampa at Ybor City for the Millennium, and I probably won't talk much about that either. But there's a wave, and it's been rolling for a while. So advance to the next one so you guys can see what's been happening and the size of the potential that's out there. So globally, there are 4 million plus Chromebook users who are using mobility print already. So when I say the storm's been coming, we've known about this product, it's been out for a while. If you're hearing about it for the first time, the reason why we're bringing it up is because we're so close to the sunset of Google Cloud Print. So the timing on this is perfect. And you'll see some supporting marketing material come from both ACDI and PaperCut as we get closer. Okay? So 4 million, what's that mean? So the potential is that we're 20 times higher than our competition right now in the number of users based on the number of Chromebook customers that are out there. And our nearest competitors, well, if you look at competitor 1 and competitor 2, that's the little yellow, or sorry, it's red, little red dot down there and a little blue dot. That shows what their market penetration is about working with Chromebook users globally. So 20 times higher is the global adoption rate of mobility print compared to our nearest competitor, which is significant. So that means that if you're watching this and you sell PaperCut, the popularity of your current product is significantly higher than your competition when it comes to working with Chromebook users on a global perspective. So we're already rolling, right? A huge number.
And those of you that were at our summit last year, you heard Josh talk about our goal for 2020 was 10x. Right, we were looking for 10x revenue. We were looking for 10x growth, and it's great to see that we received 20x growth within the growth of PaperCut mobility and the number of users from our competition. So we think this is an outstanding stat that we want you guys to be able to use.
And if you look at in the education market, the number of computers sold. If you look at Google compared to Apple and Microsoft, what's interesting is that your eyes should go to the orange because the orange represents Google. It is significantly higher than anybody else. Although my daughter uses an iPad with her school, it doesn't mean they don't use Google Cloud Print. So what does that mean? Well, I don't want you looking at Google Chromebooks are only 60% of the potential out there in the education market. It's not true because iOS offers apps that work seamlessly with Google Cloud Print. And if you're a Windows user and you use Chrome like I do on my Dell, then I have access to Google Cloud Print as well. So 100% of the market is your potential. That's who's being affected by this decision. So don't just focus in solely on Chromebooks, but we will talk a few more stats here. From an adoption perspective, if you look at the one-to-one initiative in the education market, it used to be on the pretty much 8th grade and up, like high school kids, but my 2 girls haven't gone to school without tablets of some sort. I have a senior in high school, so for 12 years, she's had a device every year. So they piloted it 11 years ago. She's never been without one. So naturally, my 6th grader's been on one for 6 years as well. So with the one-to-one initiative, the adoption rate, specifically in K-12, is higher at about 65%. But this number will continue to grow. I think we revisit this stat at the end of Q1 next year, we'll see a higher number altogether.
You know, Jeff, there's some interesting trends. A year ago, those numbers were about half that, to about 36%. So we're seeing rapid adoption, and some of that is, Google putting a deprecation date on Google Cloud Print, but I think it's also some of the trends in the industry that you just talked about. It used to be in K-12, they might have done a one-to-one initiative in high schools, but in elementary, they were going to, teach the old-fashioned way. But with COVID, the one-to-one initiatives, and also even before COVID, one-to-one initiatives, which is new ways of teaching, more modern ways of teaching, also lower cost ways of issuing Chromebooks to students, much less expensive. And that's why Google has such a commanding market share. And also in higher ed, we were talking earlier with Mark, he's a little bit older than us. And when he was in college, he actually had to put a nickel in a typewriter. And that's how they tracked printing. And then when I was in college, we actually had computer labs, but I didn't have a computer. They were too expensive. Laptops were this big. And so we go to the computer lab to print. But last year, when I checked my daughter into college, she's a freshman, and she brings her MacBook to school. And so, Dad, how do I print? So we get on the internet, figure out how do we print, find the mobility print server, download the print queue. She types in her Office 365 credentials, and now she's printing from her classroom, right? Or not from her classroom, from her dorm room, her apartment, wherever she may be. And then she goes and picks up that print job at any available printer across campus by tapping her badge. So there's trends in higher ed as well. A lot of schools are moving away from computer labs. They might still have those, but most students are bringing their own devices to school, whether it be Chromebook or Mac or Windows. How do we enable those students to print? So I think those are some of the things that are causing these stats to increase at a pretty rapid rate. Some of it's trends and mobility. Others is Google Cloud Print and people getting ready for that.
Yeah, I concur with you there, Matt. And you're right. Back in the dinosaur days, we didn't have the computers you guys had today. But it's funny, with COVID, it has changed so much. There's a stat that came out that was introduced by Bloomberg, I think last week, that the number of users on Google Classroom has doubled this year, right? And I know even in our school district, they asked parents, hey, if your kids have a Chromebook or a laptop, please have them bring them. Like, they just can't get them. They can't, there's not even enough stock out there for everybody. So they're still trying to catch up with bringing in to own, mobility devices and that kind of stuff. So it's quite interesting. But I guess the next thing is, though, is do we think that this is going to stop just at education?
Before we switch over, Mark, 2 things. One, we all know you sat behind Alexander Hamilton in the 2nd grade. It went alphabetical. So he was tall, so you study like this, pay attention, get around. But Casey Cobb got a call. You all know Casey's been with us for 107 years also. But this morning, one of his dealers in the state of Indiana called and talked about a school system that they won. They were well on their way to securing a deal with PaperCut. And then mobility print, which he had been preaching, mobility print, Google Cloud is sunsetting. We have to talk about it. The comments back from the rep where we won the deal when we went down that path and talked about what it meant for the school. And I think that what we have to keep in mind, and Matt, you'll talk about this, is your experience in deploying mobility print is if you ask 50 people, what does mobility print mean to you? You'll probably get 75 different answers, right? So the example you gave where your daughter is remote and she's printing this and that, and there's so many different ways this is advantageous for customers. It is important in education. Matt will talk more about that. But what's got me most excited is the potential in the private sector. So as most of you know, ACDI is a Google house, right? So we use the Google apps. We are Google Chat, Google Mail, Google Hangout. But Chrome OS device for every office need. And through the Chrome Enterprise recommended platform, Mobility Print is the go-to solution. You could Google Cloud Print, sunset, replacement, and you'll find a number of articles written about a handful of apps that are going away, including Google Cloud Print. And the recommended platform of choice is Mobility Print from PaperCut. So let's talk a little bit on the business side. Mark, transition over to the next slide. You know, it shows here in November of 15, we only had 2 businesses in the world on Google Workplace, and in April of 20, this year, now we're up to 6. That's 300% growth. That's fantastic.
Jeffrey,
yeah.
I know you don't have your glasses on right now, but if you look on the left, it says that number's in the millions. So it's not 2, that was 2 million.
Okay, that makes sense, Mark. I mean, the potential I knew was huge because only 6 businesses, and there's way more than 6. So, no, 6 million. Okay, that's phenomenal growth, private sector, guys. So we need to be having these conversations with businesses too, right? So we're always talking Active Directory and work groups and maintaining credentials through that aspect, but more and more people are moving to an online platform through Google Workplace. So very cool. Thank you, Mark, for the clarification.
You know, Jeff, I'm seeing that as well. I mentioned I'm new at PaperCut 3 months in, and when I got here, the first thing I got was my Google login, right? So we are a G Suite house, and I hold the record at the company. I have 2 external monitors and my laptop. There's days where I have multiple Chrome windows open with over 100 tabs. I mean, everything operates within Chrome. In reality, I'm running on a MacBook today, but I could do 100% of my job in my role on a Chromebook, save the company a lot of money. So there are businesses that are going that way as well. Last year, I bought a new Ford truck, and when I was checking out with the finance guy, he was running his business on a Chromebook. More and more applications are web-based, from Salesforce.com, ERPs and CRMs. All those things are web-based, and you can run a Chrome browser on any operating system, but you can do it much less expensively, and for the IT department, easier to manage on a Chromebook. And so that's why they're having pretty good success with their G Suite, but also with the Chromebook sales through their OEM partners.
Yeah, Matt, you mentioned easier for the IT staff when everything's run through a web browser. If late last year I lost the hard drive in my PC, we had to scramble to try to get backups and send it off, see if I could pull the data off there. When everything is web-based, you just go get a new Chromebook, right? There's no backups needed. Everything's stored in the cloud. It's there ready to go. So the ability to recover from errors is absolutely key in that kind of scenario.
I worked with a lot of school districts, and sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, over the summer, I'd work with school districts, and depending on how many students they have, they'd have that many PCs or Macs in their IT shop, and they're re-imaging them. They've got them in carts, and I met with this one district, and they're proud of the fact that every summer they were able to re-image 77,000 laptops. That's a huge number and a huge amount of effort and technology to make that happen. But with a Chromebook, you just log in as a different user. It's a lot easier to manage, a lot less cost in the acquisition cost of the device, but also in the ability to manage. And with more and more applications, curriculum and business applications being web-based, I think that's why we're seeing Google's growth here.
Thanks, Matt. So this is my last slide, last stat. And look at the green, gray, and blue numbers across the top. So on the left, the green number is the downward trend for towers and workstations that are non-mobile, purchased in Q3. Then you've got the mobile device, which would be from convertibles to all-in-one desktops, and then the Chromebooks, detachables, convertibles on the right-hand side, so growing at 42%. So not just us saying, look at the numbers, enough of those. Let's go to Matt. What is Mobility Print? Take us through kind of a tour, if you would, please, and we'll go from there.
Well, we could do that, or we'll have one more stat that we'll throw out there, Jeffrey. And that stat is, it just goes back to show that, earlier we talked about 4 million users with Chromebooks, but yet when we look at the stat of Mobility Print itself, it's over 10 million users using Mobility Print. So don't limit ourselves to the markets of just Chromebooks. Back to that chart that we had here, right? It's showing that, Chromebooks, yes, 122% growth, but there's other mobile systems that are growing along with it. And you'll see that, when we get into this, when you truly get into mobility print, we've got 6 more million users across the globe using the product that aren't necessarily tied to a Chromebook. So there is a lot of other opportunities, back to Jeff's statement, of tying the business aspect for the ability to use G Suite, which is Google's changing the name now. I think it's called Google Workplace or something like that is the new terminology that they're moving everybody over to.
Seeing that growth in all those different operating systems, and unless it's a desktop, every device is a mobile device. And you labeled me smart guy on the tip. I don't know how I got that, because about a year and a half ago, I was not that smart. I really thought mobility print was I need to print from my iPhone or my Android device. I really thought that's what mobility print was. And we're going to talk about, those are absolutely use cases for mobility, but in reality, Chromebooks, Windows, Mac laptops, those are all mobile device, but there's also, people are mobile, students are mobile, they're working from home, they're schooling from home, but also just the way they work or the networks that they connect to is presenting some business challenges for IT and how we manage all of that. And that's where Mobility Server comes in much more beyond just print enablement, but it's really an infrastructure play of making it easier for the IT department to enable printing regardless of the operating system. So while we focused a lot on Chrome earlier, that is a very big part, especially since we have a time-sensitive date that we're going to talk about next. But there's a lot of opportunities, and that's what I want to spend the rest of the time talking about. What are those trends and what are those things in the industry that we can help with? So first slide.
Matt Shotton.
Thank you, Mark. You're an excellent MC and loud guy. So I don't know how to advance slides if you can. So as we mentioned earlier, Google Cloud Print is deprecating in approximately 50 days. Well, that's calendar days. I whipped out my calendar this morning and kind of translate that into business days. Well, there's only about 32 days left. And then if I subtract out a few holidays, Christmas and New Year's, and lose a few days there. And if I'm a K through 12 or a school that might be, breaking December 21st or earlier, perhaps, you only have maybe 20 business days left to make a decision. So we're going to share some trends. We're seeing absolutely exponential growth month over month, but those are probably some of the smart districts and smart customers who are getting prepared. But in this next month, we have a tremendous opportunity to capture the rest, or there's going to be a few that we didn't catch. And on January 1st or January 5th, whenever they get back from school or back to the office, that's when they're like, that's the Y2K for printing that you talked about. I remember in that year, I actually got paid overtime. I was working for HP in California, and we were pretty sure that bank accounts were going to empty and planes were going to fall in the air and all of our servers were going to crash because, HP made those servers and they might be affected by Y2K. So I worked the overnight shift, just in case something bad happened at midnight. Nothing happened. However, I guarantee you on January 1st or January 5th, whatever the first day back is, there will be people. We all know what happens when people can't print, right? It's jamming or the problem with a print driver. People lose their minds, right? That's going to be the Y2K of printing, and we want to get ahead of that. That's the real opportunity. Let's go out and delight our customers by solving their problems, helping them stay ahead of that curve. And it's also an opportunity to get some net new business as well, because if we look at our search engine optimization that we do at PaperCut, there are a lot of people that, when you hit print right now, Google gives you a message saying, this is being deprecated December 31st. The next thing they do, hopefully they call you. But what's often happening is they're Googling, what's the replacement for Google Cloud Print? How do I print from a Chrome? And a lot of that's being directed to us and back to you. But it's also an opportunity to get out and start talking to your customers, consulting with them on how you can solve those problems and stay ahead of that curve. So Jeff mentioned over 4 million Chromebooks. That's an amazing statistic, almost 10% of the market. There's still a huge opportunity for growth there. But also what was super impressive is how well we're doing ahead of our competition. So 20x ahead of our competition. We'll talk about that. We're just, the way the product's managed, our route to market, our great resellers like you guys, all of those is making it possible. So we thank you for that, but we also know there's an awesome opportunity in this next month and beyond to grow that even further. So the Mobility Server, it's a great solution, as I mentioned earlier, not just for iOS and Android printing from my mobile phone, but any type of operating system, Chrome, Windows, Mac, etc. in a very easy to use platform. And even though they called me smart guy, I still wanted to make sure I was still smart. I was technical in a prior career, but I've been stuck in marketing for a few years, which you lose all technical capabilities when you do that. So this morning, I wanted to see just how easy is this. Well, I Googled PaperCut mobility server, downloaded it, and I started the clock, no lie. And including the time to download, next, enter username and password, I was up and running in a minute. So from the time of clicking download mobility print to having a server stand up ready to accept mobile print jobs was a minute. I spent about another minute connecting my iPhone to that, another minute connecting my Windows laptop to that. And for grins, I also want to see what's that experience look like on a Mac. And you can see that along the bottom there, all the different operating systems that we support. We've really just redefined making printing simple regardless of the operating system. So we've been getting, even with Google Cloud Print deprecating over the last, 2 years that they've been warning us, ever since we introduced the product, and I'll talk about our roadmap on the next slide, we've been getting customers transitioning from Google Cloud Print to PaperCut Mobility Server for a couple of years now. A couple of reasons for that. One, sometimes it was seen as a more reliable or stable or easier to manage solution, but also because it could be stacked on top of PaperCut NG or PaperCut MF to get increasing functionality, and we'll talk about that. And then there's also other, yes, sir.
We had a quick question on the beta. Is Cloud Print still in beta? I think that that statement there is left because of the Mac OS, right? We're still in beta form for the Mac OS, but we just recently introduced Windows, as of this week or this past week. So all the other operating systems are up and running, but I think Mac is still in beta. Is that the case?
That is true. If you can advance to the next slide, I'll talk to that.
Awesome.
So here's the roadmap. We introduced mobility print way back in 2017, and about 2 years later made it a standalone product. And why did we do that? A lot of it is for a ubiquity strategy, same way Google does. If you think about Gmail, I think Gmail might have been like my second email address. AOL was first, and Gmail was second. I've had that same address for, I can't even remember how long. It's a free product, right? But it did get me used to using Gmail. And then I started using the free version of Google Drive because, wow, I can now store my documents in the cloud, and realized I need more space. So now I had to pay for a service with Google. And then I needed, if I'm a business, I'm going to say, well, I want access to the G Suite for alternatives to Word and, PowerPoint and those type of things. So Google's strategy for Gmail and our strategy for mobility are similar. The real goal is to make a very easy route to market, solve a customer's problem. But we're going to talk more about, well, there's an awesome opportunity to upsell that customer to PaperCut NG and PaperCut MF for the additional benefits that you get with a full print management solution. Along the way, we came out with, sorry, I can back up one more, Cloud Print for Chromebooks. So that came out earlier this year. And so that enabled people to print off network. And there's a couple of different use cases. We'll talk about that, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Just last week, we introduced Cloud Print for Windows. And then by the end of the year, we'll have Cloud Print for Mac. And so what Cloud Print means is now I can print off network. And so there's several different use cases where that makes sense. One, I was getting requests in my former role as a reseller for schools that were trying to figure out this new homeschool or hybrid school. And maybe we can do that all via Chromebook or a Windows laptop. What happens when they need to print? This is a solution for those schools where they could hit print at home, and this could be a student at home or a corporate office worker that's doing a hybrid work where they work from home sometimes and we go to the office alternative times. They can hit print from home off network, they're not connected to a VPN or anything like that, and then go to school or work and retrieve that print job. So that's one of the, there's a number of different use cases for off network printing, but that's one that's pretty common right now with COVID and those type of things, just finding alternative ways of working and schooling. But even if you're at the office or at the school, there's also cases where the IT department might segment the guest devices, the BYOD devices, or sometimes the student devices away from the production network. And in the past, they might have used Google Cloud Print as a way to bridge that. So we've got these devices on this student Wi-Fi or guest Wi-Fi. In order to enable them to print, we'll use the cloud via Google Cloud Print to enable that path. With Google Cloud Print going away, what's the alternative?
Yeah. And another opportunity, guys, those of you that have worked in the past with ACDI and some of the previous products we've had in our portfolio, such as Printer On, right? We use that prior to mobility print as that bridge to enable that true guest printing, that off-network printing. And so once Printer On was acquired by Samsung, then acquired by HP, that product's end of life kind of going away. I would highly recommend that if you have any customers running Printer On or even other standalone mobility print type of applications that are out there on the market today, why not bring them over to PaperCut with the mobility prints? It's tried and true for many, many years now, and it's a small piece of the puzzle that we can help. More print enablement, right? I mean, that's the goal here with mobility print. Matt, I loved your thought of how Gmail is free, but they're trying to upsell to applications. Our goal is to get people printing more. So there's a free version of mobility print that's out there. We want people printing more, but there's some security concerns with that. What's going to happen is with free mobility print, they hit file print, jobs are coming out everywhere. And so if you want to start limiting to that, then you look at upselling them to other opportunities such as MF. And I think that's kind of one of the thoughts we had in the next chart here. Get that over for you.
Yeah, earlier this year I met with a school district, and they had Chromebooks, and so I was talking about that and print management and secure printing and accounting and budgets, and I asked them, how do you handle printing from those Chromebooks? Because I really wanted to sell them the value of how I could make that easier with the PaperCut mobility server. And they said, we don't. We don't allow printing because we tested it. And what would happen is that they issue their Chromebooks to the students at the beginning of the year. They're allowed to take them home. And they had students that were hitting print from home, thinking that, oh, it'll come out right there, my printer at home. It doesn't. If they're connected to the Google Cloud Print printer, it's going to print and just come out at school. And so they saw a huge increase in, print waste. And so I talked about how PaperCut MF, where we could turn the secure, the Find Me print queue into a Google Cloud Print printer. So that way they could still hit print, but it's not going to release until they release it with a badge or a student ID or going to a library to have an operator release it for them. So it gives that additional control to prevent that waste, but also the ability to set rules and budgets and those type of things. So there are, as Jeff mentioned, a number of alternatives to Google Cloud Print. I think there's some reasons that PaperCut is winning. I think ease of use is one of those. Our vendor neutral approach, so the ability to print to any printer from any device, and that any device being any platform, any operating system, but also being manufacturer agnostic, that it really doesn't matter what brand of printer it is on the other side. There are certain OEMs out there that have nice alternatives to enable a print path for Chrome. However, it supports only their brand, or it doesn't have a management suite, or it doesn't have a way to track it or manage it or secure it. So that customer choice of flexibility to support any device or any way you want to manage it. Another advantage for PaperCut is it's fast. So it has intelligence built into the system that the print job will stay local. So if I'm a student or an employee at the office or at the school and I hit print, and there's a natural same network path to get from my PC or my Chromebook to the printer, that print job's going to stay local. However, maybe I'm on a guest Wi-Fi or I'm at the Starbucks. Well, in that case, it's going to leverage the internet, the cloud. It'll create a secure peer-to-peer connection, and it'll traverse via the cloud to get to my printer. So I always have the fastest path, but also regardless of the path, it's always going to be a secure one with an encrypted peer-to-peer connection. And then, as we mentioned on the prior slide, no cost. And I'm a sales guy at heart, so why would I want to sell something at no cost? Well, in reality, you can. It's a very easy product to install on a simple network like I have at home. However, in a more complex network, I worked with a university recently, and the amount of devices and users and subnets they had, we brought in ACDI to do some great work in professional services and getting DNS set up to make sure that students could print anywhere on campus. So there's a professional services opportunity with just mobility server alone. However, at that same university, it wasn't just about enabling printing for the students. It was about tracking, monitoring, and secure print And so that's when we were able to have that ascension or upsell to PaperCut MF to have a complete print management solution. So no cost is a great way to get in the door. You think one of your customers might be under contract with one of your competitors, maybe the lease isn't up for a year. This is a way to go in and solve a print management problem with a simple to implement low cost solution. I say low cost, it's no cost for licensing, but you obviously can charge for your consulting and professional services, add some value, and then have, when the time is right, talk to them about a complete print management solution bundled with your hardware or MPS offer and PaperCut.
Matt, one of the things from our experience where we got a lot of requests for mobility print, if you will, and places where we put products like Printer On was in shared office space and real estate markets, right? Yeah. It wasn't with education. It was you think of the real estate market, the amount of agents that they have working for a particular office, and then the turnover rate for that, right? So we saw a lot of times where they were able just to bring in their own devices, but to your point, they didn't want to put them on the corporate networks. So they were trying to find ways around that, but yet to enable them to be able to print those full color brochures for houses and the open houses that they were working on. So real estate offices it was a big play for us for mobility print. And then so was shared office space, being able to put, in a like a WeWork kind of scenario or other type of shared office spaces, having a centralized device where multiple companies could go to use that is another good play for a mobility type application, again, outside the market. So we want you guys to think about all the opportunity that you have in your own backyard right now outside of education.
Yeah, those are great examples. Any environment that has BYOD, this is a great opportunity to bring up mobility print and solve those pain points. But even customers that aren't BYOD, I remember it was probably 2.5, 3 years ago, I had a very progressive school district, and they were getting a lot of requests from their teachers that, we got to love our teachers. They work from home on Saturday evening, Sunday night, Monday morning, getting ready for tomorrow's class. And they might be putting curriculum together, workbooks together, and their workflow is they would save that to a USB stick on their, it might be a personal PC. It could be a school PC that they're able to bring home, and they save that to a USB stick because they didn't have VPN at home to print. And then they show up Monday morning, walk up to the copier and put the USB stick in to print. Not a great workflow, a little more challenging to handle accounting there. And so they asked us, is there a way?
Matt, can you guys hear the breaking up? I'm getting some feedback from the participants that we're breaking up horribly. Are you hearing as well?
I can hear you perfectly, and I hope it's not me.
No, I hear it perfectly.
You sound great there.
Okay.
I had no problem with the audio.
All right. Well,
wonderful.
I'll try to also slow down in case it was me slurring. So, but hopefully the network behaves as well.
Hey, we did have a question that came in too while we're on the topic of printers and cloud printing. Audio sounds good. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. We had a question come in. How are you supporting cloud-ready printers already connected to Google Cloud Print?
So with that, there won't be a way to just export all of the printers from GCP that are already set up in your connection right now and port them over to mobility print. You'll have to set up mobility print, but it'll be easy for it to go out and find all of the devices that are cloud ready and connected to the print server. So there won't be a here you go, import this list, export this list kind of scenario. But I think once you get into the setup of mobility print, like Matt mentioned earlier, it's really easy to set it up and configure it. But if you do run into issues with that, maybe subnet issues, DNS issues, whatever, we'll be more than glad to help you guys out with that.
Good question.
Very good question. All right, we ready for the next slide?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's the world saying about us right now, Matt?
We have a team in Melbourne that have a fun job, and it's just to see what our customers are saying about us, right? We pride ourselves on our net promoter score, and one of those is making sure that anybody that comes to us for support has a good experience, or anybody that's looking to solve a problem, that we have the right support there. And one of the things that they do is monitor what people are saying on socials about us, and a lot of times that's kind of fun, what technical sysadmins across the world are saying, and it's there's no better recommendation than one sysadmin recommending to another sysadmin, this is how you solve that. And that's what you see on the right there. That's kind of an eye chart, but that was somebody saying, what do you recommend? And a whole bunch of sysadmins kind of jumped in. PaperCut Mobility, we've had great luck, and we also use MF and those type of things. I think it was just last Wednesday or Thursday that we released the Windows Cloud Print, and the same day we got two nice quotes. One was from a reseller like yourselves, and they said, thanks a lot. It works flawlessly as always. And buy expensive everyone print and hard to handle SafeQ mobile clients. And so earlier,
Matt,
yes, sir.
Matt, real quick, buy B-Y-E, not B-U-Y, right? Let's
exactly.
clarify that, read that, buy. Yeah, okay, just check.
Yeah, and I mentioned that we used to use some of those products in my role as a reseller for print enablement, and we would put those in front of PaperCut MF. I need a mobility solution to get to PaperCut MF so I can track it. And so this allows you a single platform solution, much lower cost, much easier to manage. And our customers are saying great things as well in the bottom left there. So this customer said, this is just amazing. I'm almost lost for words how easy it was. And I think that customer probably the same experience I did when I installed Mobility Server the same way. So making it easy to deploy, we get tremendous feedback from our IT department. And whenever we did proof of concepts with our customers, and ACDI did a great job of supporting us there, our win rates were tremendously high because the product just works. It's easy to manage, does what it says it's going to do, solves all the pain points that customers are trying to solve.
Make sure you let that customer know they misspelled color. They put a U in there. Should just be COLOR. Anyway.
Welcome to my
All right. That's right. Yes, my friends in Canada, I understand that that is the correct way to spell it. I was just having fun with it. Thanks, Martin. All right, how are we going to solve some challenges, Mr. Schotten?
Yeah, so solving our customers' pain points, that's our number one job, right? Technology is only as good as the problems that it solves for our customers. So I think we've beat the horse to death on Google Cloud Print, but there is a sense of urgency. You've got 20, 30 days, business days to go out and help your customers in advance of them having a problem on January 1st. There's new ways of working that we talked about earlier, and hybrid home, hybrid school, hybrid office, giving those alternatives for printing remotely, off network, and then being able, when they're on campus, at the office, being able to retrieve those print jobs in combination with PaperCut MF. And then BYOD printing from any device, Windows, Mac, Chrome, iOS, Android, regardless of how that's printing. And then just in summary, that job is going to stay local unless it can't traverse via local network, then it'll use the cloud. And then printing across untrusted networks, and that's a trend we're seeing as well. At my prior company, our CIO did the same thing. We had a guest network, and no mobile printing solution would work. The only one we'd find that would work is maybe email to print. That certainly works, but you lose some functionality in finishing or choosing number of sets or those type of things. So mobility print is a great solution where the IT department may segment the student devices or guest devices or BYOD devices away from the corporate network, away from the infrastructure that allows printing. Mobility Server solves those problems as well. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about mobility being iOS or Android and printing from my phone. It's an infrastructure play. It's a print enablement strategy, enabling anybody, regardless of their network, regardless of their device type, an easy way to print, but also in combination with PaperCut MF, let's make that a secure experience. Let's make that an accountable experience. Let's put some rules and boundaries around it to make sure it's not abused. So that's the strategy.
No, that's a good point to talk about, right? I mean, when I mentioned earlier file print, with just the free version of mobility print, when they print through mobility print, all the pages will come out at the machine, right? And if they pick the wrong device that they wanted to print from, or print to, I'm sorry, they're going to walk up and be like, all right, it didn't print, they're going to print again. So it could unleash a storm of print jobs coming. And so by using the ability to MF, right, mobility print with MF, and putting that find me queue in the middle, now you have the best of both worlds. You got the security aspects of it. You have to be able to do your find me release right at the devices, and then mobility print from an agnostic network environment. So the ubiquity play is all over. So it's a great way to think about all the different ways to be able to use mobility print. Matt, how is the adoption rate coming?
Do you have a stat for that? Oh, actually,
I think so. I do.
You know, we've seen, as I mentioned, since 2017, we've been seeing customers, transition from Google Cloud Print to Mobility Server for our advantages of stability, simplicity, and mobility. But we've seen an exponential increase just over the last several months. And I think that's because, I tested this morning as well. I hit file print to my cloud ready printer, and Google let me know that this is going to stop working on December 31st. So if I was an end user, I'm going to call my ACDI, I'm going to call my reseller, or I'm going to go to Google. How do I solve that problem? So we've seen exponential growth. So just looking month over month from September to October, we saw a 76% increase in mobility server downloads, over 6,000 downloads just in the month of October. If that trend continues into November, and it looks like it is, we'll see well over 10,000 downloads. I don't know what percentage of those are current MF customers that are adding PaperCut to that. We're seeing a really good connect rate, or it's those customers that don't have a print management solution today and are looking to solve a problem regarding mobility. Either one of those are great opportunities to go out and converse with your customers, have those conversations, add that value, and then create a strategy to gain them as a customer or to delight one of your existing customers. Thoughts?
That's awesome. And, back to what we talked about procrastinating earlier, we can see that the numbers show that there's going to be more and more people that are going to be scrambling. We actually have some customers, end user customers on the actual call today, and, they're not ready for it, right? So, or they're looking to get ready. And that's what we're here to help out with. I think the other thing, kind of go along with this, we've got some great case studies that are out here right now. Matt, you want to take us through these a little bit?
Yeah, I will. And just one more thing on that point with the procrastinators. Some aren't procrastinators. A lot of times, while school may break on the 14th or the 21st of December, depending on the district, a lot of times the IT department does not take that break because that's when they can get projects done.
Great point.
They're probably putting plans in place to now so they can do that conversion over the break. The amazing thing is this is not something that has to be done offline. We've had customers that have brought this up. I had a stat earlier about just in a couple of days, over 10,000 sites were brought online with Windows Mobility Print. So it's an easy product to implement, but go have those conversations with your customers, to current customers, but also any prospective customer. It's a great foot in the door. We're going to talk about calls to action and different ways for foot in the door, but one of the ways that I would use is these case studies. Even if I didn't share that with a customer, I would learn these things, learn these quotes. It takes minutes. It's just one of the simplest things I do. It just works, right? That simplicity, ease of installation, but also ease for the end users is one of the key tenets of the value proposition of mobility print. Other customers that are going to save money, right? They're saving money on infrastructure, saving money on help desk calls. If we can lower their help desk calls of the confusion that's going to happen on January 1st, that's cost savings. And then you stack that with the cost savings capabilities of PaperCut MF. There's awesome opportunities to solve problems and save money. And then that last one, Dallas Town, that's Dallas, Texas, where I live. I'm not sure where they're at. I need to download that white paper. But within 10 minutes, all of our Chromebooks had it. I didn't deal with a single Chromebook printing issue all year. So you share that with a sysadmin of a district that's the Chromebook administrator, they're going to look for that way for them to have an easy solution. Google Cloud Print was a pretty easy solution as a consumer. It wasn't the easiest solution for an enterprise or a large school district. PaperCut Mobility Server paints that single point of glass to manage all of our devices and make it really simple. So pull these off the partner portal, internalize the success stories, share these with your customers and LinkedIn and other blog posts or emails to your customers. Jeff, do you have any other ideas for creating some action here?
Oh, I always do. My sales mind is always spinning. We did have one question that came in. So before I ask everyone for help, let's go. Luke had a question. So iOS and Android devices cannot print from anywhere, just local, correct?
That's correct as of right now. Yeah, it's on the roadmap to add those OSs to the full mobility print from anywhere. So it's the Windows that we've added right now. So yes, Luke, we are definitely working on that one.
So another question from, you see that question from Mark, Jeff, he says, you mentioned managing customers using G Suite tools, OUs, to manage printer access across the network. Are they still able to do this with mobility print? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. So it can be very easily done in a self-service mode where the user downloads the app and connects to the mobility server, or in a managed environment, they can go into G Suite, and the next time the users hit print, any published printers will automatically be available to those users.
Great.
Oh man, that's strong. I love that. So Mark, thanks for asking that. And you know, your solutions architect for your area is none other than the Eric Olson, whose mug is down on the bottom right on this picture. So this is our solution architect group who is well-versed in helping you sell mobility print, helping you install it, helping you set it up internally if you want to run a trial for a customer. It's free, actually. So, I mean, whatever you need about how it works, the best strategy, please reach out to, and I always talk in our sales meetings to my group, have you hugged your solutions architect today? So these guys, they live on hugs. They wake up, have coffee, dream about dealer hugs. So get after them, challenge them, ask them all your questions, work with your RSM on marketing materials. So find those free case studies, use and abuse them, distribute them to all your school systems, or to private business who might be using Chromebooks or the Chrome Enterprise Suite to manage their business. So remember, the universe is huge out there for potential. Also, we are
Jeffrey,
creating
real quick.
And yes, sir.
Real quick, as you pull your speakers out there so they don't interfere with your beard a little bit. For those of you that are in Canada, there you go, much better. I wanted to give a quick shout out that our solution architect Luke Russo will be doing a deep dive this Thursday, specifically on mobility print. So get with your account manager, get with your RSM. If you guys want to attend that, or if you have an opportunity to sit down, or maybe a customer wants to come in, get with your Canadian account manager, and they'll help you with that.
Jennifer O'Leary dropping comments in here. Thank you, Mark. I couldn't figure out that noise. It is these little buggers that rub against my facial hair. So anyway, and then the last ask is that you use the email campaign that we're creating and distributing. And I want you to distribute through your own marketing engagements. So we're going to create the content for you. Ask your sales rep, where is it? How soon can you send it? And then we'll get it out there. So that's it, Mark.
Last but not least, here's another way that you guys could be knowing which customers have mobility print right now is if you have Multiverse installed, go through Multiverse and look at your customers. If you click on the feature usage, you'll see whether mobility print is checked or not. So if they're not, great way to go start that conversation. There's a lot of professional services dollars and or just consulting efforts that you can do with your customer to make sure they're ready to go with mobility print. And if you don't know what Multiverse is, call that solution architect up, get with your ACDI rep. They'll help you understand the product. It's a great support tool, pre-sales, post-sales tool that you guys can be using for actions like this. So definitely have a look at mobility print and Multiverse.
That's a really good point, Mark. And Multiverse is a super powerful application. Think about preparing for business review. I can look at this customer. They're also not using integrated scanning. They haven't done a lot with rules. So these are things in a quarterly business review you could prepare and say, extend the functionality. The more of these checkboxes you check, the greater value you're bringing to your customers, the stickier that you're going to make the application. And so Multiverse is an amazing capability to do that remotely, not having to call your customer and ask them or remote into their system to see what functionality they're using. Presenting that all in this kind of dashboard view is pretty powerful. I did want to make sure we got everybody's questions. Jason had one question about Mac OS compatibility. I assume that's for the off network. I did have that on a roadmap. I'm always nervous to present roadmaps and case the dev teams let me down, but I did confirm with the product owner this morning. Will come up in Australia, I think. And he did say that by the end of the year, we would have off-network or cloud print enabled for Mac OS. So that covers all of our 3 core desktop OSs for Chrome, Mac, and Windows by the end of the year. And as Mark mentioned, roadmap activity into 2021 for the true kind of mobile OSs.
Another question came in from Mark with regards to larger school districts that have the money to pay for a solution like this. You also have smaller schools with no budget to replace GCP, which was free. If you go to PaperCut's website, Mobility Print standalone is a free solution. You can download it. There is no cost to you, to the customer. You can help them set that up, and it will be a like-for-like replacement or better than GCP replacement for that customer. So there is no fee. Point them to it, set it up for them, get some professional services dollars, whatever. You can do that on behalf of your customers. So know that it is, Mobility Print is not a charged for application in any of the products that we have. It is standalone. It also is available in NG and MF just by turning the features on. So there's a lot of reasons a lot of different places where you can use the product. All right. Any more questions before we end up? Got a couple more minutes. This presentation has been recorded. Our marketing team will clean it up, and it will be placed out on the ACDI website for you guys to download and share with other team members that might not have been able to make it today. So just give us a few days. They should have it up and running on our website before Thanksgiving next week. With that, I will say thank you, Matt Schotten, specifically to you, the smart guy. We really appreciate you being on here with us today and taking the time. Oops, sorry guys, taking the time to be with us on this event. You offered a lot of insight. Your comedy wasn't very good. You should work on that for the next one, but we'll let it slide. But great job, everyone, and thanks to all of our partners and customers, both from ACDI and PaperCut's side. We appreciate you all taking the opportunity to be with us, and any questions you have, send them our way, and we'll be glad to help out.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Jeff. And I'll take some lessons from Jeff on the comedy.
Please do. Yeah. He teaches it every Tuesday night. Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Bye.
See ya.